You can see the leaves floating to the top. Do we have any overflow? Yes, we do. Stop the rain and see what we have. So we've zoomed in so you can compare the two. This one has a lot of the soil in the container. This one just has a little bit of the particles, a little bit of the soil in that water. So why do you think this container is a little bit cleaner? Well, what's different between the two? Well, this one had leaves, dead leaves on top. And I think most of these dead leaves helped protect the soil underneath from moving with the water. So what do you think is going to happen with our third container? We have plants growing in the soil. What's going to happen when we add water and make it rain in this container? All right, here we go. Let's add the water. About the same amount. Pouring the water in. What do you think's going to happen here? Add a little bit more. It's coming out. We're going to stop pouring and see if we can compare what we see coming out. The water coming out of this container looks a whole lot cleaner than this one, and a little bit cleaner than this one. So the question is why? Why is this water cleaner? I poured about the same amount of water into each container of soil, but this one looks really clean. Well, to answer the question why, we have to zoom in and take a closer look at what's really going on here. So now we're all set to take a closer look at why the water coming out of this bottle was so clean and clear compared to the others. To do that, I'm going to actually lift these plants out of this bottle and let's see what happens. Well, what I notice right away is what comes along with all of the plants. Well, the soil is actually coming out too. When I flip it over, I think you'll be able to see why. So we've zoomed in so we can see what's going on here. Why is this soil staying together? Why is it staying in place? Well, you can see the roots from our plants grew into the soil. And almost like little fingers, those roots are holding the soil together. So when it rains, the roots keep the soil from washing away. The roots of the plant, that's what keeps the water from eroding the soil. Besides holding the soil together and in place, roots do another amazing thing. To show you that, I'm going to squeeze this and I want you to watch what happens. Where did all that water come from? Well, that came from when we made it rain on our soil. The roots of the plants helped hold that water in. Plant roots actually go deep into the soil, and this model is going to help us see how deep they can go. We're going to zoom in and see if we can see those really tiny plant roots that we have growing in our soil. We've zoomed in now so you can see these tiny roots in action. I'm going to point them out, and they actually extend from the plant all the way down to the bottom of our soil. I'll point out some of the bigger ones. They grow down into the soil. And think about what they're doing. They're holding that soil in place. All of these tiny roots getting nutrients from the soil, but they're also helping the soil out. Plants do an amazing job at keeping erosion from washing away too much soil. We need that soil. We depend on that soil to grow plants. And animals depend on that soil to grow plants. If you want to learn more about plants and
So Andrew, I have a question. So you talk about fish eating trees. How does this relate to that? What happened to the water that went through the bottle with the plant?
Right here.
How come you get the
Fill it,
was it cleaner or was it dirty?
Right here. Right here.
So the one with the plants was dirty or cleaner? So the one with the plants and with the leaves was
You
cleaner?
can't even do it. You said it.
So fish need cleaner water, and so it actually filters the water if there's plants there. So that is one way that trees do help the waterways as well, has cleaner water.
Oh, he did
Okay.
it. I didn't see
Up
it.
to that, so does anyone want me to go over the questions that were in your packet? So explain what was done in the video. So he had a bottle with no plants, a bottle of leaves, and a bottle with a bunch of plants growing in it, and he poured water over them, right? And then the question was, do plants and leaves on top reduce or increase the amount of soil that was eroded? Someone tell me, was it reducing the erosion or increasing the erosion? When the plant roots were there, did they make more soil move away or less soil move away? Anybody? Remember, you know, less, right? So less soil erodes if you have plant roots there. All right, and then, so plant roots help the water to sink in and not take the soil away. Okay, so trees protect soil. Basically the idea there. Okay, so here is your next little bit. So you guys fill in the diagram. You guys already kind of understood the concept that trees are producing oxygen, or some of you call it air, which is correct. Air is actually made of nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, all those things mixed together. But they do create oxygen for us. So plants create sugar by taking in the water, sunlight, and carbon dioxide. They create oxygen. But the most important thing they do is they actually remove CO2 from the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide is the largest cause of climate change. So when you have plants, a lot of plants there, they're helping to, what they say, mitigate or make climate change less, slow down the climate change. If a lot of carbon dioxide is being taken in by the plants. So you got to fill in that little picture there with you know what things the plants taking in, what they're putting away, and then you can write down what process do they slow down. They slow down the climate change. They're taking away that CO2, that greenhouse gas that causes the plant to heat up faster than it should. It's really hard for plants to keep up though with all the things that we're doing, and especially with us cutting down trees, right? Then we have less trees taking out CO2, so we're kind of not helping the situation with climate change.
Should be done by still gotta be good until you bring good into it. You see? Look catch up to you. Don't talk, bro. Alright, it's all about the players. Yes, it is good. But it's like the maximum is like 200.
Okay, you guys see what I'm doing on this, or you go good for photosynthesis?
Oh, you be behind this.
Okay, so we'll recap. So the services provided by trees, if you want to label your old tree pictures up there, you can. So the leaves of the trees, they do a lot of things. They block the sunlight, they provide a cooling effect. They also filter toxic chemicals and remove CO2 from the atmosphere, which gives you less climate change. Then you have the roots. The roots hold the soil in place and help water to seep into the soil instead of running off and creating floods. And then you have branches, leaves, and roots, etc. Those provide the habitats for different animals.
It's on my old phone. Oh.
So this is sort of showing you where on the tree studying the different ecosystems where this has happened. And I just want to remind everyone that either next Tuesday or Thursday, we're going to have a quiz and you'll be able to use your notes. So if you're sort of like not sure if you want to be filling these in, just to give you a heads up, that would help have you fill in. If you want to take a picture of it, do it. If anyone just gets really behind, this is posted online, and also if you want to just take quick pictures, like this, write it all up there.
Not because I lost.
Make sure it's on paper though if you want to use it on your
Check your phone.
Okay, so now we're gonna move on. So those are the things that trees do for us. So what happens when we deforest? What is deforestation? Where is it happening? Okay, so before we get started on this, top of the second page, you should have a little box that says, what is deforestation? Put your thought. What do you think the definition of deforestation is right before we get to that? It's pretty self-explanatory. What is deforestation? What does that probably mean? Takes a couple seconds to go through this, see if anyone wants to.
Like when it's rolling, and then like
Not defrosting, deforestation. Defrosting is one thing.
You got me confused for a second when you said that shit.
I don't have that. This is needed. Okay, can I just tell you, what do you think deforestation is? One person, tell me the thing. Deforestation. I'll call on someone if no one knows.
I think it's 8 ain't it? Yeah.
Alright, so, alright, deforestation, so you got that written down, so let's see if you were right about it, what you wrote down. Deforestation is the process of degrading
I knew it.
or destroying forest habitat. And you're basically taking what used to be a forest and you're converting it into something, another thing like agriculture or homes or something else that doesn't involve trees and that you gotta cut the trees out to make space for another land use. It's called land use. So you can use land for different reasons. You can use it for recreation. You can cut trees down and make a park. That can still be deforestation. Not always logging though. Sometimes it's most of the time for agriculture. There's like, anyone know how many people there are on the planet? Any guesses? Y'all know what the the human population is at this point? It's about 8 billion, right? That's plenty of people. So most of the deforestation that happens is actually agriculture to make our food. So we're taking forest land and we're making it into a different type of land for our own purposes. I mean, I guess take this house and come right back. So, all right. You guys gonna listen? We get another minute? Okay, misconception. So I kind of talked about this a second ago. I got ahead of myself. So deforestation. A lot of people think that deforestation is only when we're cutting down land for like wood or you guys know paper comes from the forest, the trees. But deforestation a lot of times is happening in the Amazon and in the rainforest because they need space to grow food. They need space to grow the food that they feed to the cows, things that we need, right? We like to eat beef and chicken, things like that. So a lot of times deforestation is actually space being cleared for agriculture, large-scale agriculture, to feed our growing population. So deforestation is not only when you're cutting down all the trees to get paper and for logging. It's usually for agriculture. So on your sheet it says, what is deforestation not? It's not only for logging. And most of it happens for agriculture. Growing plants.
Omar was a cancer. Seventh grade, eighth grade. I hope the fire
Oh, I had to reset it. It had context to that bitch and everything.
Oh, Gabby!
They used to be. That's what they didn't even do.
Again, on your sheet it says, we already defined deforestation, so your next line you're gonna write, not only cutting down the whole forest for logging, it's mostly for agriculture, that's the third blank down there. So mostly for clearing land for agriculture. And agriculture again is raising plants and animals to eat. Provide food and products for.
God damn it.
Okay, really quickly, we're just gonna look at this picture and answer a couple of questions about where this is happening and where. So, on your sheet, you have a copy of this map. And so the areas that are darker colored, or like on the picture it's black and white, so the ones that are really dark colored, and on the actual original it's red. What are some areas you guys see that are the darkest or the reddest on this map? Take a second look at the map. What are some areas that look like they have the worst deforestation? You guys know what this country are? South America is huge, right? That's where the rainforest is. So South America, Brazil, Argentina, a lot of those places have really bad deforestation. What's another country that you're seeing, or continent that you're seeing a lot of deforestation? Yeah, North Korea. And even South Korea, the orange. You've got a lot in the continent of Africa, right? Africa's not a country, by the way, I haven't said that before. There's a lot of deforestation here.
I ain't gonna lie, that shit.
And then also, this is sort of called Indonesia, all of these, like the Pacific Islands, happening a lot right here. And also Australia. Australia's orange. Orange is just slightly less bad than red. So those are some of the areas where it's happening the worst. And they happen to be areas where the rainforests are. And the rainforest actually holds something like 40% of all the animals, and it's only in those couple areas, so they're losing a lot of animal habitats. As well as there's not as much CO2 being taken in. Yes? Yes. There's not as much CO2 being taken out of the atmosphere and oxygen being created for us. So those rainforests are kind of like, they'll say, they're kind of like the lungs of the planet. They create our oxygen almost to breathe. So they're being deforested the most because that's where the Amazon rainforests are. That's where the most trees are. And they're being deforested for farming. A lot of our food are created in those countries. So that's where the rainforests are, and that is where we're creating a lot of agriculture. Alright, so the agriculture and the rainforest exist there. So there's more forest that can be cut down. The reason why you have to, does anyone think of a reason why do I have to cut down trees in order to raise animals and plant like crops? You need space, right? You're gonna need a large space. You guys ever driven past the areas of North Carolina where they've got the big like farms and stuff? Like it takes a lot of space. If you enjoy eating cows too, we have to feed them grain and corn. So we have to have the land. Andrew, you're distracted right now. So you have to not only have land for those cows to live, but you also have to have land to grow their food. Okay? So we need space to keep our animals, and we need space to grow the food. That would be sort of your wide trees you can cut down. So places to keep our animals and then large tracts of land to grow food.
Not like that.
So we have, like we said, we have 8 billion people on the planet. We couldn't really feed 8 billion people without agriculture. It would be impossible.
Let her. Yesterday? No, we're going to.
It would be completely impossible to feed everybody without large scale agriculture.
He's a girl. She's a girl.
Okay, and then the alarming statistic here is that 60% is the number of percentage of the land that is forest that is predicted to be deforested by 2030. How far away is 2030? It's like 8-9 years away, right? We're almost 2030, so. It's literally within the next decade, they're saying that 60% of the world's forest land is going to be deforested. We keep going the way we are right now.
Mine was talking like, what, 80?
That's a lot.
No,
More than half. More than anything we do.
The design because they're up.
Yeah.
So, what design you want? I can kind of go with the size.
Okay. So when you flip over to the next page, I had originally had an article for you guys to read and do this Venn diagram with it. We're gonna skip that just because.
Right here. Put up a heart.
So just skip down and put your definitions for what the difference is between clear cutting and selective harvesting. So we're gonna look at 2 different ways that you can select trees when you do logging, when you're trying to make paper goods and things like that. Okay, so we're gonna do this, we're gonna skip it right now. So, there's two different ways that you can do logging. You can select trees to cut down. So you can cut down an entire section, just chop it down, acres of land, or just chop down at once to just quickly, it's cheaper, doesn't take as much time, and just chop all the trees down and go. And that's called clear cutting. You cut down large areas of several acres of trees at once. There's another way that you can do it, which is selective harvesting. So selective harvesting is what it sounds like. You select which trees you need for what you're doing, which ones are the best, and you leave the rest alone. Okay? Now this picture right here is really interesting because this picture shows what happens when you have, this picture down here would be a forest that comes back after clear cutting. And then these two forests would be after more of a selective harvesting. So go ahead in that box where it says what are the differences, write down a couple differences and see what you pictures. What do you notice about trees where they clear cutted them all and then they grew back? And what's different between ones where they only select a few trees to take out and then some of the trees grow back? What are some of the differences? Write those down in the box. What are the differences between the top picture and the bottom picture?
You don't cover your fucking ass up.
What are you seeing up in the top picture? What are you seeing in the bottom? What's different?
It's not in my name, I can't do
I miss him so much. Right? Right? Right that I missed him? Yeah, I was thinking about
Yeah.
I was thinking about you, dear.
Get off your phone, Michael. Get off your phone.
All right, does anyone want to tell me what they noticed different about those two types of processes here? Picture the trees.
Don't tell me it's branded, bro.
Look exactly the same, or are they different?
But you're gonna get stuck in night.
Okay, so in the top pictures, are all the trees the same kind of
Don't tell me what
height
it's
as
gonna
each
do
other?
again.
Yes or no? No, they're not. There's like, there's some little trees here, there's some medium trees, and then there are some really tall trees, right? It's sort of like what you would expect in a forest, right? A lot of different sized trees. This is really healthy. That helps the trees and the animals to have more play. Like a natural forest will have different age trees. When you do the clear cutting, all of the trees are the same height, and all of this like area here is uncovered. That's not as good for habitats. There's not as many places for the animals to live. And you notice too that the trees are really far apart. There's not as many roots to hold the soil down. So there's a lot of different things that are bad about clear cutting. So here, this one right here has a ton of different trees right next to each other and lots of roots, lots of holding down soil. Here, there's just a little bit. This is better than nothing. It's better that they let the forest grow back again. But it's not a healthy ecosystem when all the trees are exactly the same age and exactly the same size. And when they're sort of spread out like that.
Hey, yo.
All right, so things these are written down as different types of trees, and they're closer together when they're more of the selective harvesting. So there's better root systems that hold in the soil. You want the soil to be held down from erosion happening. The more roots, the better.
He really just say rad, bro.
Okay, and then really quickly, we're gonna hit on the solutions, and then you guys have a little bit of a exit ticket.
God damn.
Once you guys finish writing down definitions? Okay, so this stab picture, right? This is what happens when you do clear cutting. There might be a few trees left, but it's mostly all gone.
Wait, what?
This is clear cut.
Where's clear cutting?
Oh.
This was on the board for literally 10 minutes.
Really? Oh. What is clear cutting?
So clear cutting is when you cut it all down and you end up with this weird forest that has all exactly the same trees. And it's not healthy. Whereas this is when you selected and you only took a few trees here and there, and it's a healthier forest.
Okay. Sorry, I get
So
it
you're
now.
good. So that's just sort of the real life picture of what happens right after a clear cut. Kind of sad. Okay, so right after we get really sad about trees, now we get to talk about there are solutions. And a lot of these solutions are being done, and clear cutting is not used as much as it used to be. So here are your 4 solutions. Government regulation is one of the biggest ones. Some people don't like the government having regulations, but the government can set limits to how much you can clear cut. Just, just basic rules. You can't just clear cut acres of land, eco-friendly consumerism. So that means that when you decide where you're going to buy things, you look to see, did these come from the Amazon rainforest area? Like, did I contribute to deforestation when I bought these products? Reforestation is when you plant trees back. And then the hardest one, I think, for me, personally, is eating less meat. Eating less meat is difficult. I don't know, I eat a lot of meat, so. Because meat is a highly spaced, like it needs a lot of space on the planet to create the meat and to raise the animals. So eating less meat, maybe having a day or two every week where you do a meatless Monday or something, like that helps because people eat less meat. Not use products that cause deforestation as often. Be careful with how much paper you use. Things like that. And a lot of this stuff is happening now. There's a lot of projects to help with these, use these solutions.
Nazir. You miss me? Nazir. Did you? Huh? What? Oh, thank you. I don't know, my mom these are my burgers.
White power.
That was wearing pajama pants. Yeah, because she doesn't like them as well as that.
Alright, y'all good on this? 1 second.
But we still gotta do this.
Alright, so last we'll leave with a little bit of a quote. This is from Gandhi. So what we are doing in the forest of the world is a mirror reflection of what we're doing to ourselves. So in that last box on the last page, you can sort of say like you agree or disagree with this and why. So God is basically saying that what we're doing in the forest reflects what our society is sort of doing, what we do to each other all the time. Using people and using things for our own benefit with this